Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to tell you about my presentation. The title is Diglossia and Bilingualism. The first, I would like to tell you, explain about diglossia. Diglossia can be defined is a sociolinguistic term refers a kind of situation where two language varieties occur in same time and are used under various conditions within a community, often by the same speakers. It is the use of two widely divergent forms of the same language by all members of the community under different conditions. This term is defined as social and institutional bilingualism. It occurs in two varieties which are needed to hide all the community domain. If a language is a dialect, then that language will not be called diglossia. That's why diglossia is not a dialect. History and definition of diglossia. The term diglossia was first introduced in English by Charles Ferguson in 1959. He is credited to be the first linguist who used the specific term diglossia. In this article, 1959, entitled Diglossia in the journal World, to refer to situation where two varieties of a language exist side by side throughout the community, with each having a defined role to play. He was one of the sociolinguists who gave this phenomenon great interest. Ferguson gave the classical definition of diglossia. According to Ferguson, diglossia is a relatively stable language situation in which, in addition to the primary dialect of the language, which might include a standard or regional standards, there is a very divergent, highly codified, or often grammatically more complex. Supports variety, the vehicle of large and respected body of written literature, either of an earlier period or in other speech community, which is learned by formal education and used for most written and formal spoken purpose, but is not used by any sector of the community for ordinary conversation. Later on, Joshua Fishman gave a modification of Ferguson's 1959 original concept and rather strict definition of diglossia in 1967. Fishman generalized the concept of diglossia to bilingual communities. Fishman presented an expansion of Ferguson's definition of diglossia in two respects. The first, diglossia speech community is not characterized by the use of two language variety only. There maybe more than 2 language varieties used within a Diglossia communities. The second, Diglossia refers to all kinds of language varieties which show functional distribution in a speech community. Diglossia, as a consequence, describe a number of sociolinguistic situations, from stylistic difference within one language or the use of separate dialect. Ferguson standard with dialect distinction to the use of related or unrelated separate language. When two languages or language varieties exist side by side in a community and each one is used for different purposes, this is called diglossia. Longman Dictionary of Applied Linguistics 1985. Diglossia is the use of two widely divergent forms of the same language by all members of the community under different conditions. Diglossia refers to the societies with two distinctive codes of speech which are employed in different situations. Diglossia is the characteristic of speech community, group or people with common rule of speaking, rather than individuality. The next feature of diglossia. Diglossia has been used both in a narrow and in a much broader sense. In the narrow and original sense of the term, it has three crucial features. The first is two distinct varieties of the same language are used in the community with one regarded as a height or age variety and the other a low or L variety. The second is each variety is used for quite distinct function. H and L complement each others. And the third, no one uses the H variety in everyday conversation. The next, varieties of diglossia. Diglossia has two types of variety. The first is high variety and the second low variety. You can see the paper about high variety, about the scheme high variety. You can see the scheme of high variety. High variety under formal is official and professional, and low variety under low informal, under informal friendly, slang and vulgar. Explain about high variety is regarded as the standard variety. The people use it as formal or official situation, such as government, conference event, formal letters, broadcast, religious service, and teaching. High variety is used for literary and literacy purpose and for formal, public and official use. A more standard variety called the high variety or age variety. And then low variety. Low variety or L is regarded as the non-standard variety and people use it as informal situations such as family member, neighbors, local market, and talking between friends or close friends. Low variety is used for informal conversation and daily use. A non-precise variety called the low variety. Everyone can speak the L variety and will do so in informal situation. But not everyone can use the H variety. This phenomenon is due to the distinct level of linguistic knowledge the speaker have in Diglossia community. The high variety, which is linguistically related to but significantly different from the vernacular of low varieties, has no native speaker. The next example of high variety and low variety. Promito Bangla is high variety, but everybody Bangla is low variety. Arabic is high variety, and colloquial Arabic is low variety. Standard German is high variety, and Swiss German is low variety. And the next you can see scheme about standard variety. You can see. Okay, I can explain. Okay, can explain. Charts and most behind newspaper editorials. You can see. Okay. And the next characteristic of Diglossia. Ferguson lists 9 specific characteristics of Diglossia language situation involving the function: prestige, literary heritage, acquisition, standardization, morphology, syntax, lexicon, and phonology of the high and low variety. Ferguson 1996. Diglossia happened because happens because people use more than one language, which can be consist of the native language and their official language as a national language. In Diglossia, basically people use one specific language in certain situation and other language in other situation. Okay, I would like to tell you about example height variety. Height variety is more beautiful, logical, and expressive than the low variety. Okay, the next I would like to explain about bilingualism. Uh, the Bilingualism is the ability to speak and think into different language. This language might not have everything in common and have different roots like Indonesia and English. Both language can be used in formal as well as informal setting. Bilingualism refers to the abilities to speak to language fluent. With what is important to note about bilingualism is that it is an individual experience, simply exciting, and a bilingual family or community doesn't guarantee bilingualism. Likewise, being born in a monolingual family or community doesn't prevent one from learning another language and becoming bilingual. Furthermore, as the mentioned in other answer, the two languages spoken by a bilingual person don't necessarily have any relation to to teach other to each other. They can be from different language families and have different alphabet. These are some examples of bilingualism in Indonesia. Today, we are going to present sociolinguistic. Oke, presentasi pertama akan disampaikan oleh Ahmad. So, let's begin. And the next example. Ini merupakan masalah pribadi saya. Jika banyak netizen yang mengkritik, I don't care. Saya serahkan segala urusan kepada Allah Subhanahu wa taala. That's the point. Okay. Okay, enough. I'm sorry for my mistake. I say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.